Hello, this is Coach Tim Campsell, and I'm your host for the Self-Made is a Myth, Make a Difference Together show, where we're talking with successful business owners to hear their stories of the journey to building their business. And because we know that success in business is not something that we do on our own, we are recognizing the folks that have helped us to excel. Today, I'm excited to have a fellow business owner from Indiana with us today. My guest has an uncanny ability to learn new information after only seeing it once. That comes in handy in business quite a bit, I am sure. He likes to play basketball every Tuesday at noon and a round of golf whenever he can fit it in. He says that play is important, and I would agree with that. He is most proud of building a business that most said was impossible, and we'll get into that in a little bit here. It's my pleasure to welcome Chad to the show today. Hello, Chad.
Hey, thanks for having me, Tim.
Hey, well, let's start with having you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit of your personal story, like where you were born and where you live, a little bit about your family and things like that.
Sure, yeah. So I'm a Texas native, born there in 1987. So that puts me at a ripe old age of 35. I lived there for 30 years, went to school, grad school in Arkansas, where I met my wife, who was from Avon, Indiana. And long story short, we had our first boy in Texas, where we lived after school for about 2 years. Her mother stayed with us for 30 days after our first son was born. And the day she left, we were moving back to Indy. So been in Indy now for, we just passed our 6-year mark. So it's flying by pretty quick. So beyond the first kid, he's 6 now. His brother, Carter, is 4. So Keller's 6, Carter's 4. And we actually just had little baby Scotty Marie, and she is 4 months old yesterday. So growing family. Yeah, appreciate it. The girl is different for sure. She's kind of got me in a different way than the boys, but it's good. So family's growing, family's doing great. And I like it here in Indy. You know, the winters are a little long, but it was a great place for family, great place to start a business. Honestly, it was easier to start a business here than it would have been in Texas. So all around good.
So Chad, is there a funny story that your family likes to tell about you that you'd be willing to share with us?
And you know, I thought about that, and there's really not. They don't razz on me too hard. I wish there was a great story, but kind of status quo on that front.
So tell us how the business came about. At what point did you have the confidence that you could run your own business?
Yeah, confidence didn't come till much later, honestly. I'm a physical therapist by trade. I graduated, went to work for a clinic back in Texas. It was a great place to start. You know, they allowed me to really kind of go my own way. You know, I thought different. I did things different right out of school. And, you know, they really didn't get in my way. So I was able to learn a lot. I was able to implement some stuff that I learned from school, but honestly, kind of tinker with some of my own ideas, things that I wanted to be doing. So really, it was a great place to start. It was an insurance-based clinic there in Texas. Which, you know, it grew into a more traditional role of like the high volume, but it really allowed me to kind of get my feet wet in the field of physical therapy, but also get really rooted in the direction that I would go from there. When we moved to Indiana, I worked for a larger physical therapy company. You know, I think now there are 1,000 clinics across the nation.
Wow.
And yeah, so they're big, but you know, most insurance-based centers, they function largely the same, and you're going to get a lot of volume. And so, you know, it was, I think 2018, I was seeing 3 or 4 patients an hour. Yeah, it was a lot. And I started really wrestling with the gap between, you know, what I thought I could be doing for patients and what was like actually possible with the time that I had. So I essentially went from 15 minutes of manual therapy with this patient to the next patient, to the next patient, to the next patient. And they were spending the rest of their time with a therapy aide who, you know, wasn't out of college yet. And I had a really hard time reconciling that in my mind. And that's what really got me thinking about getting the heck out of there. And it was the right decision for me. And I'm not saying that model is bad. It's obviously not bad because A lot of people get what they go there for, and it's profitable, or they wouldn't still be in business. So there's something to be said about that. But the way I wanted to work with people, the types of things that I was into, it just wasn't possible there. And so I started kind of getting my wheels turning about how I was going to transition out. And I actually took a part-time job as a physical therapist I was actually on site at a Kohl's distribution center right here in my backyard. And so that was 20 hours a week, which gave me 20 hours a week to kind of start growing my own business. 2 years later, I got fired from the Kohl's distribution center for a conflict of interest. And so lo and behold, I was full-time for myself, like it or not. And that was probably the best thing that ever happened. I mean, launching me into full-time business for myself. I think we tripled our revenue that year. Over the last year. So it was a good thing that happened, but it was just kind of a unique sequence of events. I had to get out of the high volume grind as quickly as possible. I got a big opportunity to go part-time and make decent money and help me get that off the ground. But it also gave me insight into a field of healthcare that I didn't know existed, which was on-site healthcare for employers. And that really has kind of set my path in a different direction over the last couple of years. I'm sure we'll kind of get into that a little later, but that's kind of how I landed where I am today and what has kind of moved me in the direction that I'm going now.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit more about the company. What is different about you guys?
Yeah. So, I mean, you walk into our clinic and it looks more like a gym than it does a clinic. We end up attracting a lot of patients who have already tried and failed all the other things. So docs, meds, injections, chiropractors, other physical therapists. Some have failed surgery already, and they're still looking for results and haven't gotten them yet. And that's really who we enjoy working with the most. We're very comprehensive. We're full body all the time. If somebody comes in with shoulder pain, we treat everything. If somebody comes in with back pain, we treat everything. And what I've learned over the past 4 years is that everything is important when it comes to the human anatomy. Can't tell you how many times we've solved shoulder problems at the pelvis and shoulder problems at the ankle. Just the interconnectedness of the body is maybe a little more profound than clinicians give it credit for. But we're also not limited by insurance networks and kind of the red tape around what we can treat and when we can treat it and how we can treat it, which allows us to do that. And, when I first started the business, almost everybody I talked to, except for my dad, was like, you can't do that. And that's, we do physiotherapy for cash. We don't touch any insurance networks whatsoever. And, I talked to multiple surgeons. I was talking to like clinic managers that I was close with at the previous company I was at. And they're like, dude, you can't do it. People will not pay cash for that when they And so that kind of just lit a fire under me even more, just to be like, watch me. Okay. And, so now I'm 2 years in full time. I make more on my own W-2 salary than I would have ever made as a staff therapist anywhere else. And the business is growing and people keep coming in, and we just exchange value beyond our price point. And if I could sum up what we do in the shortest way, it is we sell people's desired outcome and provide value beyond our price point. And that's what allows us to do it, is because nobody wants physical therapy and everybody has pain. Right. Those are, you can't sell pain relief and you can't sell physical therapy. And so our evaluation, I mean, it's really different. We don't even touch people until we go through, hey, what do you think your problems are? What are your fears, your frustrations, and challenges about those problems? And then what are the real problems? And so a false problem is pain in any body region. The real problem is my daughter's getting married 4 months from now and I can't walk her down the aisle. That's a real problem. Right. And when you can get to that and create a solution for somebody for that, now it becomes real to them. Yeah. And they start comprehending and contemplating like, okay, if I don't do anything, what's the result going to be? and what's it going to look like if I get to this time point and I can't do this thing I'm expected to do? And so our job is to make it real and kind of extract out what it is people really want. And then if we're getting commitments like, yeah, that sounds good, the price point is fine, let's go, and we haven't even done a physical evaluation yet.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So,
and then if they say, man, that's a lot of money, yeah, of course it sounds like a lot of money. You don't even know what we're going to do yet, so can we go through that with you? Yeah, of course, let's do it. So our job is, whether somebody works with us or not, is to deliver just a massive amount of value in the time we get to spend with them, and that really carries us forward more than anything.
that's awesome. So what's the name of the company and where are you guys located?
The company name is NRG Physiotherapy, NRG Physio for short. We're in Plainfield, Indiana.
Fantastic.
Over here on the west side.
Wonderful. So Chad, tell us about a story where someone pushed you or inspired you that you could do it, even though maybe you didn't think you could, and the impact that they had on you.
Yeah, this almost always draws back to my dad. I'm a natural born dreamer, big visions, big missions, big goals. Those, I try to weigh all my decisions against that, but dad is very similar in that way, thinking about the possibilities and the opportunities, not the hurdles and the obstacles. And so he's always been the one to push. He's never been the naysayer. He's never been like, you got to be careful with that. He's been that kind of one constant, consistent force that I can always go to for advice and know that it's going to be solid. I can always expect something positive out of the conversation. Not always something I want to hear, but something I need to hear. But it's never, you can't do it and it's not going to work. It's how can you make it work? How can I help you get there? And by far the most supportive and encouraging in what I'm trying to do. He's experienced it himself. He gets all banged up and I fix him real quick. And so, he believes in what I'm doing, and he's been just the positive force behind doing it in the first place, really wrestling with, man, I could be doing so much more for people and I just can't here. Yeah. I'm waking up, hating going to work, trying to figure out how I can be sick for the day. So I don't have to go, because on top of, and this is the struggle for therapists all over the nation, is they got a job that they were kind of disillusioned with going into the deal, and now they're seeing a lot of volume. It's not as attractive as it once was, and then they have to take 2 or 3 hours worth of patient documentation home at the end of the day. It's like, man, and so my first thoughts were, how can I get out, and then how can I blow up enough to take other people with me? How can I save people from that environment? And when everybody else was saying no, Dad said, just do it.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
I'll help you in any way I can. And
what's Dad's name?
Yeah, Rick. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So Chad, we know that business success doesn't happen in isolation. So tell us about a challenge that you've had as you've been growing your business, and maybe a fellow business owner who helped you get through that.
Yeah, that's an easy one. So one of the best things I ever did, similar to coaching, it was coaching in a large way, was a cash PT mastermind. So it wasn't just one business owner. It was, 80 or 90 guys just like me, all on calls together each week, all in a room together twice a year, with some of the bigger leaders in the space. There were 3 guys in the space, Jared Moon, Danny Matei, and Eve Gigi. And I can't even pretend that I would be where I am today without having started with them. There was certainly, I could have tinkered with things on my own for a while and probably grown a bit, but they just provided great resources, great information, great education, great mentoring. And then we had other, 90 other guys and gals who were in the same place I was, where we could bounce information back and forth off of each other, figure out messaging and marketing and how do we do this thing, and how do we sell people on, physical therapy for cash. And, that was one of the best decisions I made early on. I incorporated in 2018 of October. I jumped into this mastermind January of 2019. Dad actually was like, you need to do it. I'll pay for it. And so,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so it cost me, 10 or 12 grand, which I mean, as a brand new business owner, I didn't have sitting around.
Sure.
And so dad came through in a big way for that. And that 10 grand has paid me over a million times at this point. It was a great decision, but the environment of having people around you that can push you both personally and professionally,
Right.
in kind of a single-minded direction is a really critical thing for me, especially.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow, what an impact dad has had in multiple ways. So
Yeah,
just incredible that you have that support.
I did pay him back, by the way.
Yeah, that's good. So Chad, what's your biggest learning as a business owner?
Oh, commit first, figure the rest out later.
Tell us more.
Yeah, so there was I spent a lot of time wrapped up in how do I get this right before I get it out there.
Yeah.
I ended up wasting a lot of time, which is now my least favorite thing to do. And just knowing that if you commit to something, you will figure it out. It will help you draw in the resources you need to figure it out. It will help you think more creatively on how to get it done, and really speed your results in a bigger way. Perfectionism is just another word for procrastination.
Right. Yes.
And nothing can be perfect. The world turns too fast for that. By the time you get something perfect, it's you're behind the 8 ball again. So that's probably been the biggest thing is like really understanding what it is you want to do, where you want it to take you, and commit to it. My 3 words are passion, purpose, persistence. If you have those, you can accomplish whatever you want. And those have kind of been just what I kind of weigh my decisions against over and over again is, what am I really doing here?
Yeah.
And are my decisions helping me get there? And I don't need to know the mechanics of how to get there. I just need to know I'm committed to the end result, and the rest will come as I go.
Yeah, I love that. There's so many of us, myself included, who can, get stuck in the trying to figure out all the hows and what if that goes wrong. And all we really know for sure is that a bunch of things are going to go wrong. And a bunch of things are going to go right. And if we just at least start, we've got to, we're much further ahead than if we try to figure out all the what ifs ahead of time. Right.
Yeah. That's been heavy on my mind a lot lately, is just start.
Yeah.
Because like in business now with physio, it's nothing for me to just go do something, right? I'll figure it out. But like there's this other area of my life I'm really passionate about, multifamily real estate. I know that's where I want my investments to be going. And I'm just sitting around, just start. You don't need 5,000 units right now. You need one.
Yeah.
Just get your foot in the door, just get in the game to the smallest degree and go from there. And so there's just no shortage of opportunities to get started. Yeah. It really is the most difficult thing, is just to start.
Yeah, for sure. I often say to my clients, progress, not perfection. Right. And it's like, just get the ball rolling. So you start that momentum, and right, once the momentum starts, then you get that snowball effect. Right?
Yeah, that's right. We tell our patients all the time, like, hey, look, pain is a part of the human experience. It's going to come and go, but what we're looking for is a positive trend. 2 steps forwards and 1 step back is still 1 step forwards. And if you do that enough times over long enough period of time, you're going to be a lot different than you are today.
Yes.
And,
I love it.
That's the idea: physically, spiritually, mentally, financially, business, so applicable,
If I asked you, Chad, to pick 3 people in your business owner journey that you're most grateful for being there as part of, helping you to get to where you're at, who are those people and how they help you?
My wife. We clash in a lot of ways, but I can't pretend that I wouldn't be here if it weren't for her. At the most basic level, she had a job that paid so well that it took a lot of stress out of me starting my own business, right? If we were strapped for cash financially on both sides, it would have seemed really impossible. Now, I can also see at the same time, it probably would have launched me faster out of obligation. But it really was good. We've been really fortunate to have great jobs and, financially be pretty stable. It was, and it was great. I started my job at Kohl's. I was there for almost 2 years, and I had grown my business to a point where when they fired me, I think I made like $6,000 or $8,000 that week. It was a great week. That wasn't like the norm, but it was like, you know what? It's just proof of concept that this can be done. And but yeah, Jenna, she struggled through it with me. Our mindsets are very different on business and risk. We're polar opposites, but at the end of the day, she could see this is what I needed to do. Now it's obvious it was the right decision, but without her job being what it was, man, it would have been so much more difficult to even start, to get started. The next is Dad, and you've already heard a lot about Dad. Just financially, from an encouragement perspective, a dreaming perspective, sitting around tinkering with the ideas of what if, and the calculator is my favorite app on the phone. There's just so much potential on the calculator. What if we did this and multiplied it by that and got this one? Yeah. So it kind of adds an element of fun to the chaos and stress of business. Just having somebody there that can, kind of give you advice. My dad was a business owner. He built custom homes for 35 years. And so he's been there. Yeah. We've had some deeper conversations on like the things that he wishes he would have done, and so it helps me kind of organize my thoughts around what am I doing, and the big thing he said, was, I wish I would have set goals. He was the big cheese in the town we lived in. He just had great word of mouth business. He had a niche that he built houses in, and he did really well for himself. I mean, he really did built a lot of homes, and but he really never set goals. And so, he looks back now and he realizes, man, I probably could have, 10x that if I would have set some goals, maybe kind of focused in a direction. Sure. And so I was kind of naturally inclined to be a goal setter, but hearing that gives me perspective on, what am I going to be looking back thinking when I'm 63 or 64? Sure. I don't think he has any regrets in not doing that to any degree that affects his life, but I don't want to get to 64 and have that. Yeah. There's just a lot of ways that he's factored into my success. And then probably the most recent was friend Josh Ross, and he saw something in me that maybe somebody else wouldn't. We had the idea to build out physiotherapy on a text platform that runs on conversational artificial intelligence. So there are big problems in the world of healthcare. He recognized that. I had a big idea, and he's helping me get there. Financially, as a business leader, a coach, and it's got big legs under it. We're trying to make physio affordable and accessible for all people. We've built a program that's scalable to the masses. Anybody with a cell phone can do it. It's going to save employers millions and millions of dollars on their annual healthcare spending in the zones of opiate spend, all analgesic medication spend. So if it has to deal with pain medication, we can cut the cost way down. Injections, MRIs, which is about a $150 billion industry, and most of them are unnecessary. And then unnecessary surgeries, and part of this is that people aren't getting to the right provider early enough in the process, and they're getting shuffled through the most chaotic healthcare system that exists in the world today. And a lot of people end up spending money they don't need to spend, having procedures that they don't need to have. And they're all doing it just to chase pain. And pain is the wrong Like it's the wrong target.
Mm.
Like I said, it's part of the human experience. It's going to come and go. It's there to tell you when you need to make a change.
Right.
You need to find somebody who can help you understand what that change is and how to implement the strategies to help you make the changes.
Sure.
And so, in the past, I almost by accident over the last 4 or 5 years working on NRG Physio created custom, not custom. Nobody's a special snowflake. Like nobody needs custom until they've tried all the other stuff. Starting with custom is the wrong way to go. We just noticed that like when people come in with a certain pain, it's always associated with joint restrictions in other places. Mm. So we created like programs and protocols that are comprehensive, that deliver a root cause solution for any pain condition that somebody's probably going to have.
Wow.
And then beyond that, if they're not getting better, it triages them to telemedicine. And if they need it, it'll triage them to an in-person provider. So it's a stepwise approach to cost. It's super cheap to run it, mind-bogglingly cheap. And so it's new. We're working on some pilot studies right now to generate the data, but we've got big vision for this. We see that it's going to reach people in a different way. And Josh has been a big part of that.
Fantastic. So, Chad, as you think about the next 3 to 5 years, what are the biggest challenges that you're going to face in reaching your goals, and who are the types of people you're going to need to overcome those?
Man, so we've actually so that platform I told you about is NRG 360, which I actually think is going to springboard us into some changes at NRG Physio that are going to help us navigate the next 3 to 5 years in a better way than just the previous business model. So there's a couple of things that are going to happen. Insurance reimbursement for physical therapy is going down every year. It's eventually going to flop. In-network centers are going to have to go out of network or go cash-based, in which case we're going to be light years ahead of them, because the biggest thing for cash-based physical therapy, it's not therapy, it's sales. And walk into any Athletico, ATI, Team Rehab, Select Physical Therapy, US Physical Therapy, and they do not know how to sell anything, right? Because what they're selling is, yes, we take your insurance. And so it's gonna create opportunities for us, both like in clinic and I think in the consulting world. Helping those clinics navigate how to make that change is part of what I would like to do, because if they can make that change, they're going to provide better care for the people coming into their clinic. And that's what we hope for. It'll also de-stress the system and give a higher quality life to the therapist providing the care. And my Great Dane's freaking out. I got it. But NRG 360, though, I think is really going to springboard us into a more consistent virtual care. Which is really where the planet's going. COVID launched us into that. It kind of broke down the barriers between healthcare and digital care in a big way. And some of the bigger things happening in healthcare right now are in the digital and virtual space. So I really, over the next 3 to 5 years, see most of our business transitioning over to telemedicine on the tails of NRG 360. And we'll probably leave NRG Physio like it is, for word of mouth referrals only. I probably won't pursue too much growth there because we're going to be growing in a different direction through some of our other companies that we've got.
Very cool. So Chad, it sounds like you've been blessed with some incredible people in your life who have, helped you along the way in your journey. If they were all on the call here today, what would you want to say to them?
Man, big thanks. I mean, you're really right. You can't do it by yourself. And something I've learned is, that they mention, you're the average of your 5 friends or the 5 people you hang out with the most. And most people, I think, do that by accident. But I'm very protective of who I spend my time with because I know that. It doesn't mean I ignore people or push them away. But it does mean I pull more out of time with certain individuals than I do somebody else. And so, spending time with Josh, spending time with Dad, those are big builders for me. And I know that. My circle of friends it probably doesn't extend to 5. there's not 5 people that I hang out with on a regular basis. The 2 I hang out with on the regular basis are my wife and my dad, to be honest. And the others are just, kind of chance encounters. But I'm protective of who is in the inner circle and where I'm going to spend most of my time, because I know they're going to help me get where I want to go. And for the people that are in that circle, I couldn't do it. I couldn't have done it without them. I couldn't still be doing it without them. And I certainly couldn't be looking forwards in the way that I am today without those people being in that inner circle.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. I appreciate your time on the show.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Really enjoyed it.
To everyone who tuned in, thanks for listening to Self-Made is a Myth with your host, Coach Tim Campsell. Be sure to spread this movement by liking the show and posting about it on social media. And to join our movement, go to bemadtogether.com. All right, folks, that's a wrap. Make sure to pay it forward, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.
Thanks.